Good morning. This is your Minnesota Bite Report for February 19th, 2026. Good numbers of walleyes and perch are coming out of Mille Lacs and Lake of the Woods, along with a mixture of crappies and walleyes on Upper Red Lake and the Big V. There's also some good numbers of eel pout coming off of Leech. This is your Minnesota Bite Report brought to you by Easy Fish USA and Range Behavior. Mille Lacs Lake. Mille Lacs is seeing good action using small jigging spoons with a minnow head on the north end of the lake. We're seeing good numbers of 6 to 11 inch perch with a few 11 to 13 inch walleyes mixed in. Still seeing 24 to 27 inches of ice, and accesses are in pretty good shape, but they're changing, so be aware and keep your eyes open when you're going on to any launches. We did get a little bit of snow in the last few days. All right, Lake of the Woods. The Baudette side, we're finding good fish in 30 feet of water. Larry T moved from 30 feet where he's finding good numbers using a red hook and a weight with a chub or a fat head. He also found pretty good numbers of dinks out at 30 feet and ended up landing a 25-inch walleye, which is a fantastic walleye. Better quality in at 24 feet though. So he moved back in, he found 7 14 to 16 inch walleyes and good numbers of 11 to 13 inch saugers as well in a little bit shallower. So he's a little bit closer to Pine Island, and we are getting some reports from the scouts that say the fish are moving a little bit closer to the river. So even though there's some numbers coming out of the deeper water, they are starting to get better fish in closer, probably within that 5-mile range of Pine Island. So keep that in mind if you're gonna be out there. On the Rainy River. Now the extra snow kept our scouts off of the Rainy River for the last few days. They're gonna wait to see what happens with this snow. Now I think that you could probably still fish the Rainy River, but you're gonna wanna check with the local resorts out there just to see how the conditions are and make sure that you get a good report from the local resorts about what is going on. Make sure you check in with the resorts because the things can change from hour to hour. So just making sure you're checking with the local resorts. The Williams area, Scott L. is fishing in 28 feet of water near the reefs. He's picking up dinks with 11 and 13 inch saugers and walleyes mixed in. Now he's gotten 3 decent walleyes. He got a 17 inch, a 21 inch, and a 23 inch, and he's splitting his day between the frozen shiners and the chubs just on a regular panfish hook. He seems like he's doing pretty good on that. Now, the Warroad side, Beth C and friends are sitting in 26 feet of water, and they're having a great time pulling up walleyes and saugers in the 11 to 18 inch range. They're catching quite a few dinks also, which she says are keeping them really nice and busy. Beth has reported that she is having most of her luck on a dead stick with a plain hook, tipped with a chub or a frozen shiner. She said they are using both, and they have not noticed that one is out fishing the other. So they're both actually doing pretty good. Okay, Upper Red Lake. Will N is running and gunning for crappies, and he says his running and gunning is producing good numbers, and he's fishing in the 7 to 9 foot range on Red Lake. Now red is really shallow anyway, but 7 to 9 is pretty shallow, so it sounds like he's getting a little closer to shore rather than being out in the middle of the bay. Sometimes it pays off to get a little bit closer to shore when you're searching for crappies. So don't forget to go in a little bit shallower than what you're fishing for walleyes, which generally is in that 11 to 12 foot range where most people are sitting for walleyes. So you can get in a little bit shallower, chase those crappies down, and when you see them on your graph, you will know they are wide, so you can see them on the graph. All right, Mike B is fishing the Big V on Lake Vermilion, and he's finding crappies holding in the middle of the water column in the deep holes on the east side. He is using a small teardrop jig tipped with either a waxworm or a small crappie minnow. And he's also getting a few walleyes, and he noticed that the walleyes are paired up, which I actually have noticed myself. The walleyes are starting to get paired up on Lake Vermilion. I am catching decent sized females with a really good sized male swimming with them, almost one after the other, bang, bang. So make sure you're ready for that, and you'll probably see them on your graph. It looks a little confusing at first because you'll say, wow, this is a really big red mark, and it's it's split. It kind of looks like a school of fish, but a lot of times it's two fish very close together, and one of them could be pretty big, meaning the female. Not that the males can't, but the females are usually the bigger of the two. And it looks confusing on the graph. So it'll kind of spook you for a little while and you'll wonder what that is. But believe me, once you pull one up and then the other, you'll say, oh, now I see what that is. It was the paired up fish. So keep your eyes open for that. All right. So slot fishing males are definitely a fun time of year. Now we only have a couple days left in the walleye season in greater Minnesota. If anyone has any good pictures, send them into the Minnesota Bite Report and we will post them. We will keep your location private. All right, Leech Lake, Gary M. has been fishing the Acorn Hill area where he has been walleye fishing, but he's picking up a few eel pout that he was happy with. He's finding eel pout out in the basin in about 26 feet of water while he's waiting for walleyes to come through. He caught an 18, a 24, and a 31-inch pout. Those are nice fish, and man, do they fight. So those are a couple of nice fish to get on the line. He's been using a red hook and a weight, and also he's been jigging a little bit with a small spoon and a minnow head. A couple of good walleyes were acting more aggressive. So he was thinking, you know, these things are going to turn on. It is the end of the walleye season. So we've got a couple days here, and we do look for the walleyes to turn on a little more as we get going here through the weekend. So keep your eyes open for these aggressive walleyes. They will come flashing through, and sometimes they're not on the bottom. So keep your eyes open for them. They could be in the middle of the water column. They could be right underneath the ice. There are minnows in the water now. I've been fishing up shallow for some walleyes where I've been pulling out nice 2-inch perch that I know these bigger walleyes are queuing on. This is good bait for these fish. So let's take us some time here and make sure that we're fishing for these nice fish and put the big ones back, please. All right. Be aware of the changing ice conditions. We got quite a bit of snow, especially up here in northern Minnesota. Make sure you're working closely with the resort that you're going through and make sure that you're being safe out on the ice. Don't take it for granted. Anyone noticing changing ice conditions, send them into the Minnesota Bite Report and we will post them to keep people as safe as possible. The Minnesota Bite Report is brought to you by Easy Fish USA and Range Behavior. If you're looking for a canoe outfitter in the Lake Vermilion area or tow service, look to Easy Fish USA for any needs for getting into entry point 1 of the boundary waters. We are still filling up our portfolio of scouts. If you would like to be a scout for the Minnesota Bite Report, send us an email. Your exact locations will be kept private. Send any comments, pictures, or requests to easyfishusa1@gmail.com. That's Echo Zebra, easyfishusa1@gmail.com. Let's go catch some fish.